Hi, hello, and welcome to another edition of nicheBrains Expert Review of the Week. I am John Vincent, co-founder of nicheBrains and the host for this session. Just a quick brief about nicheBrains. So nicheBrains is a digital transformation platform which connects millions of SMEs with the best of brains across the globe to adopt digital transformation to help them grow their business exponentially, thus democratizing digital transformation. In today's session, we have Mr. Venkat Krishna, who's the CEO of PQSI Digital, and he's an expert on the nicheBrains platform too. Welcome to the session, Mr. Venkat.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be associated with nicheBrains and connect back with you.
Wonderful.
Digital transformation.
Have you too as well, Mr. Venkat. So Venkat, so just about a few words about Venkat. So Venkat has used, the crawlers, parsers, and arrays more than a decade ago in IT services, and is an early adapter of big data, with in-depth experience in harnessing technology for data mining, service excellence, process automation, content management, deep profiles. So he founded the PQSI Digital to accelerate a digital transformation, specifically in manufacturing. So Venkat has built a model for assessment of value stream for digital transformation. He has assessed close to about 100 manufacturing value streams across different subsegments of manufacturing. Today, their solution Statport is in use across 20 plus locations all over India. So before I go more, let's hear it from Mr. Venkat himself. So Venkat, it'll be great if you can give us a quick background about yourself, your journey from corporate life in terms of the positions you've held, worked on, the domains and the regions you've worked, to finally how you became an independent consultant and finally started up your own firm. So it'll be great to hear from you, Venkat.
Thank you, John. So I started my career with Arkin Systems in 1998. Arkin Systems was an IT services company, and my work started with Microsoft ERP, mid-range ERP. So I started with requirement gathering, gap analysis, and also gradually started managing ERP implementation. Subsequently, I started working for Redington Solutions USA, which was called as ReadySolve in India. As one of the first employees in India. We were outsourcing work from the US, and that is where we started working with large data. So we were, for some reason, in terms of IT services, we came across several use cases that needed large data. And this was the time when, the database scene was dominated by SQL Server and Oracle. But due to certain unique use cases that we came across, we needed to look beyond those databases into, big data was just about coming about. And we started using MongoDB back then. That's how this whole journey starts. And then after many years of using data and process automation and analytics in IT services, largely in the acceleration and delivering higher value to our customers, we came across an opportunity with a large automotive OEM to build a supplier quality dashboard. Because they, OEMs work with thousands of suppliers, and they gave us the opportunity to build a cloud platform to integrate their suppliers and build a dashboard. That was the venture into manufacturing itself. At which time I found this opportunity to specialize. That is what was very enchanting for me. While in IT services, while we had the toolkits, each day was a brand new domain. So while we were doing a lot of things, we were gathering momentum or getting into depth of expertise, which is what I thought we will do with manufacturing. So at this time, I went to the Indian School of Business, studied manufacturing and operations, and then that's where we built this model of assessing a factory, which is a very important thing in terms of our requirement gathering, understanding the value stream, because we don't focus on one particular use case for manufacturing. We focus on the entire factory, and we deliver a smart factory transformation. That is where the assessment model is important, which is why I enjoy visiting factories. I make it a key highlight of my work itself. The last 2 years has been bad, but typical month, at least 3-4 factories is what we get to visit and assess. And that's how we started, venturing into this startup to specialize. I had the background in large data, and then the opportunity to verticalize it for one domain. That is the interest.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to hear about your background and your experience, Venkat. So Venkat, you've been extensively working with the manufacturing industries. You've obviously told me that you visit quite a lot of factories. Obviously, the COVID has a little bit slowed down that work, but still you visited quite a lot of manufacturing industries. Can you give us any specific customer experience in digital experience in on digital transformation in detail? Challenges specifically that was faced and the value that you created for the customer.
Sure. So, see, the interesting thing about manufacturing is today, if you talk about the top use cases of digital transformation, manufacturing may not feature. Maybe finance and healthcare have taken the first leg up in terms of digital transformation. But if you look at digitalization itself, the advent of electronics and computers started with manufacturing. Electronics in manufacturing is about 50 years old. Late 60s,
Yep.
late 70s is when the first PLCs came about. What that means is manufacturing shop floors have plenty of data.
Right.
And because the digitalization doesn't happen, see, if you're setting up a modern factory today, people provide for enough, digital footprints and, the strategy is in place. You start right day one by having a digital officer on board. But that's not the case with 1 lakh plus manufacturing facilities all over the country, which have been built over the years very
Right.
organically. And what is characteristic of our manufacturing compared to those abroad is that we are very versatile. There is a lot of improvisation that happens. So that again means versatile in another point of view also means there is non-standardization. So
Right.
point number one, there is plenty of data. Point number two, the data is lying in different containers all over the place.
Right.
Now, the challenge of filling up the gaps in data, that is managed by putting people on the job, which
Okay.
means you produce paper artifacts or you produce more offline documents.
Right.
What we deliver is the convergence job, right? Data across functions, across sources, in different structures, and paper artifacts. It also means, in the more common vocabulary, it is the convergence of IT and OT.
OT.
It is the conversion of the cyber world and the physical world, or in
Right.
simple language, it is the conversion of the machines, the digital sources with paper artifacts. This is what we do.
Right.
Manufacturing can always spring a surprise. When we first started, we thought we will have a pricing model that is based on the number of parameters that we have to manage for the customers. But
Okay.
then I had some extremely, so my largest customer in terms of data footprint is
Okay.
also my smallest customer in terms of revenue.
Oh, okay.
This is an SME, right? This is an SME out here in one of the zip codes in Chennai.
Okay.
Their, so as an SME, how their strategy itself is the versatility of the line. That means they support a large number of products for different customers, and they are
Okay.
very smart with their line utilization. 24 hours, they keep it running for different customers. The small business smarts are plenty if you go to that environment. And they use different machines and different combinations. So it is not one straight line. What
Okay.
that means is the data framework explodes. So if you look at the framework for this company, it's a tier 2 supplier for the automotive industry. It's
Okay.
about 600,000 data points that we potentially acquire for them.
Oh, okay. That's
Okay,
a
so
huge.
manufacturing will always bring a surprise. At the same time, you will have a very large value stream because it has plenty of demand and it has probably produces 2 or 3 items the entire year.
Okay.
They will have a more focused framework.
Right.
So these are all, very interesting things that we come across in manufacturing, and the challenges vary. Each business leader is looking for a different kind of outtake. So, like
Yeah.
I said, we are not a verticalized solution. Yes, we work within the shop floor. That is our focus area. So we don't go into, supply chain analytics or other aspects or the B2B aspect of manufacturing. We focus on the shop floor.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
there are different use cases, so we start by asking, so the first step is to assess the line, have a
Okay.
sense for the data that they're producing, understand who are the custodians of the data, who are the consumers of the data,
Yeah.
right? And then we ask them the question, what is the problem they are trying to solve? What are the long-term goals that they have set for like 2 years, 3 years? Then we work with them to accelerate that goal, seeing that what they have set about to achieve in 3 years, can we bring it forward and achieve it within a year? It's a collaborative effort. The domain belongs to the customer. We don't understand problem solving. What we do is to make it possible for them to move faster, which is why we say it very clear. We bring acceleration to digital transformation.
See, especially the manufacturing in the manufacturing segment, I think the shop floor is probably one of the most neglected lines which I realistically see. But there's huge potential because there's so much of data that is being generated, especially in the line,
Yes.
and it's a very key case in terms of the potential. Just moving on to the next question, right? So what I was asking is, what do you think is the impact of digital transformation specific to the industries that you have been working on, that is the automotive or the machinery, the equipment parts and ancillary manufacturing, and specific to the domain like shop floor, business process automation in the coming years?
Right. So there are some old trends, old themes of transformation which continue to remain relevant, which is reducing the cost of poor quality. Most of our customers, or most of the manufacturing players in the industry today have a mature delivery model. They are able to deliver zero parts per million, zero ppm. If you visit any manufacturing facility, you will see zero ppm. That's an achievement they are giving as far as their customers. So they are, able to reach a level where they don't ship defects to their customer. So the focus naturally shifts to: are we generating defects in the line? Are we going through rework? Is there a loss in utilization because we are going through rework? Are we having to incur certain amount of, compromises in the finish line? Those are all the focus areas. So cost of poor quality emanates from these aspects. There are different types of industries. In some cases, in the finish line, you find a defect, you are able to take it back, do some corrections, improvements, and then clear it through final inspection again. There are other industries where such corrections are not possible. So in those, in the second scenario, the cost of poor quality is definitely higher. So one of the oldest themes is to focus on the cost of poor quality, reduce the cost of poor quality, and an equally important theme that most leaders focus on is the line effectiveness. So having invested a lot in terms of capital in bringing together a value stream, there is the machines are invested, workforce is not significantly cheaper. If you look at net cost between India and say Germany, it's not a huge margin difference anymore.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of those cost factors have been absorbed because we as a country also lifestyle expectations have incurred. So though the arbitrage is reducing on a year-by-year basis, so you have to focus on the efficiencies. Now, if you break it down to specific instances, to focus on this, there is a lot of manpower invested, right? Because these are very, very vital KPIs on the shop floor. Naturally, you pick up the best of your human resources and have them, keep an eye on data.
Right.
Okay, your best of your engineers are involved in planning, data collection, monitoring of the collected data, analysis, presentation. This is a huge cycle. These engineers who given additional time will focus on problem solving, which is what we do. When we say we completely collapse the data cycle, when we say convergence, we are talking about collapsing the data cycle.
Right.
So in the assistant manager, senior manager band, we create a lot of spare time with our approach, both in terms of digitalization, and I'm saying I'm including convergence, analytics, and automation. All three aspects put together, we create a lot of spare time at your, the crux of your business, which is the problem solving layer. So that's a significant outtake. Then there are other aspects, because today if you are supplying to an OEM, the OEM asks about your digital capabilities.
Okay.
So if you want to tie up with a European automotive, and if you want to supply to any of these European automotive makers, they do ask you what are your digital capabilities. They ask you specifically about your traceability. Again, in the automotive use case or aeronautical industry use cases, if you say that yes, I have a paper-based system, I have a log sheet that I print and maintain, then you are required to maintain those archives for 15 years time.
Right.
These are all very, very expensive propositions. And then if you build a room full of paper, and if you try to retrieve the records, you are not allowed 2 weeks time to retrieve records. People expect instant traceability. In the next generation, your customers will want to digitally monitor your workplace, as well. So these are all the emerging trends as far as the basic use cases. And if you go to the advanced use cases, then it is again when it comes to be it cost of poor quality or effectiveness, the industry is moving from a diagnostic culture in terms of finding out what went wrong. Everybody wants to shift to a predictive culture, which is where deep tech is coming into manufacturing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one very key technology that's coming up. Now people really want to beforehand, because I've seen quite a lot of manufacturing industries looking for solutions on preventive maintenance, because the machines that they run are pretty expensive. There's a huge amount of capital investment which goes in, and they want to know upfront when the machine is up for service, and if there is going to be a breakdown, they know it well in advance. So yeah, I think that's one of the future trends, as you talked about, right? So the data there gives quite a lot of huge insights in terms of how the machine's running, how it is functioning. I recently, I think in my last this thing, I worked with one Singapore-based company too, right? So they were looking at probably the engine's capability. So they had a kind of a device which was connected to the engine, which gives an an output to look at the life of the engine. So when it is going to break down, so how the engine is functioning. So when it's
lifetime analysis,
maintenance, so it gives to give functions. So I think it makes valid sense, right? So the same thing with the machines too, and especially when manufacturing industries, they're running, like as you said, costly investments on machines. So it's very important that predictive maintenance is one of the key trends that's turning up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is not just in maintenance. Yes, maintenance is a top use case, where from breakdown maintenance we are moving to preventive maintenance, and from preventive we are moving to predictive. Our use cases, so naturally, predictive maintenance is one use case, but we are also working in the use of AI or deep tech in predictive grading of output. When you set up a batch for production, and if you're going to run that for 2 days, 3 days, and then if you're going to get your yield, and then you inspect the yield to arrive at what is your yield effectiveness or your yield analytics, there are predictive algorithms that we are building to, when the batch itself is set up, we can predict the yield.
All right. Yeah. Wonderful.
Again, another way of improving the line. So, you can say that this particular raw material is better used on that machine than this machine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or this raw material serves that customer better than this customer, or the settings for this raw material should be different from the previous batch. A lot of these variables can be put together. That's where math models are coming together very nicely with manufacturing. These are very interesting times to.
I think it's wonderful insights that you've given here. On the same lines, see, manufacturing industries, they are pretty much on the when I say slower side on when they're looking at digital transformation. So how do you think they should prepare themselves for this transformation? Is there some specific things that they need to look at when they for this transformation?
Yeah. So there are, to be fair to the leaders or the decision makers when it comes to digital transformation, they are aware of the massive rate of failure.
Right.
So if you look at, studies done by a Gartner or Cisco, they are looking at failure rates of 60% to 70%. Right. So if you are the person, going out and buying, you will be very conservative in this space. And then Harvard University has done this very interesting research, and they have rightly summarized that most of the leaders have a wait and watch, hold approach to investments, big investments in digital transformation.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to start somewhere. We cannot wait for that.
True.
So what we do is, one, in terms of investment, we de-risk it quite a bit.
I missed you there.
I'm saying that in terms of investment, we de-risk the investment quite a bit.
All right.
We make it affordable. We make it scalable. People are very wary of hidden costs, so we give them 5-year fixed costs.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, within the first month of digitalization, we start delivering certain results.
Wonderful.
How we do that is, not all outtakes need to be based on deep technology and AI, because AI needs reliable data, you need to train the model before it starts delivering results for you. And this is not going to happen overnight. And there are no shortcuts for this. You have to go through that full cycle of training the model. What we do is we use some very traditional time-tested statistical models.
Okay.
These need not go through so much training. At the same time, they create a predictive band of performance. They aid very well for manufacturing. So if you, like I said, if you have a value stream that is producing hundreds of thousands of data points, there are good old 50-year-old time-tested, statistical models which you can use. That is how we start on transformation. Everything need not start with IoT and AI. It is nice, if you have rich data coming to you directly from machines and you don't have to enter data, you don't have to build adapters, if you have good infrastructure. Yes, we have customers like that, brand new greenfield facilities started right from day one, built as smart factories. There the challenges are very different because you have to deal with live streams of data. In less than a second, large amount of data is produced. So you have to be good enough to consume that amount of data and translate the insights. The challenges are different there. But most of my customers, it's not that we don't tell them that they have to completely digitalize their environment. So we give them hybrid infrastructure. Wherever we can tap directly into sources, we do that. Wherever we cannot, we use apps to remove paper and capture data entry. So the advantage of apps is it comes with workflow automation.
Right.
So you can, guide the users to make sure that the right data in the right quality is captured on time.
Wonderful.
While it may not be as good as IoT, but it is definitely a start point, which is how we are making it affordable. And when we say 20 plus customers, these are discerning, conservative companies. They don't think of these as R&D initiatives. These are projects that produce results, and they are able to create a sustainable impact on the bottom line.
Right. So if I have to take the little bit of the crux there, it is something that you should look at some small initiatives. You don't have to look at a huge large scale automation. Obviously MSMEs, they are starved for cash as well. So let's understand there has to be a model wherein they are able to look at or digitalizing some small portions of their whatever inside their business, and if they can get that and also with results. So that's one another thing that you're primarily focusing on. So one of the key things that MSMEs look at is that small portions which can immediately give them results and benefits. So obviously they should have a larger strategy though, but they have to start somewhere, and that is what you propose for MSMEs as well. Right.
See, in a complete transformation, our cost as PQSI, our product cost as Starport is the smaller portion. The bigger cost is in the upgrading of electronics interface so that you can capture data from the machines. So what we tell them is take a step-by-step approach. Gradually replace app-based data capture with if you want to go for IoT interfaces or telemetry, those kind of digital transformations where instead of manual entry you can use live feeds. That transformation you can always take a step-by-step.
Right. I think yeah, with whatever existing is there, you can first look at how you can extract data and then move on to the larger, the sensor-based ones.
By which time they would have seen, they would have felt the taste, and most important, the cultural transformation of workforce would have already happened.
Absolutely. I think that's one very key point you're making about the transformation in terms of culture is that that how much of data really gives key insights to them. It also gives them that kind of a sense of the understanding of how and importance of data as well. Right. So Venkat, moving away from the the SME side, what has been your motivation? You've been an independent consultant and finally you've started your own company as well. So what was your motivation to move?
See, like I said, in the IT services, we were doing a lot of work. So we were working in portals which were marketplace models where access to data was the primary challenge. Having built certain skills and capabilities, the most interesting part of manufacturing is the amount of data that is available. Two, when you harness the data and deliver KPIs, the problem solving in manufacturing creates that impact to your solution. See, through lockdown, as much as we couldn't continue our pace of engagement as we did before, we finished one implementation for a process manufacturing company in Hosur. This entire implement. So we had, just before the lockdown, we had signed the purchase order. That's all. And we had started requirement gathering. But through the lockdown, we kept engaging with them. Yes, it took us much more time than our usual implementation cycle. So we maintained the implementation. But now, so when we finished everything, the first trial started in October, November. Then we came across some improvements. Jan, Feb, we started going live. Now they have come up with a vision document internally that in the first year, they are going to recover 10 times what they invested with us.
Wonderful.
This is the beauty of manufacturing. So when your software produces an impact, when your work, even within the first year, can generate that kind of an impact. Every month, their line effectiveness is becoming better and better.
Right.
This is what we were looking for. And then when I started looking at manufacturing as an industry, we have more than 100,000 manufacturing units all over the country.
Right.
And then manufacturing GDP contribution is projected to go from 17% to 25%.
Absolutely.
Even the before scenario, manufacturing in India is second only to agriculture. It's much bigger than IT services or healthcare or any of the other big sectors that are out there. So it is a huge ocean and a place where a lot of transformation is happening. Now, even in the post-pandemic era, the change in manufacturing is going on happening. Exciting things are continuing to happen in manufacturing. The advent of electric vehicles, for example, the amount of electronics manufacturing that is happening in where we are, between Chennai and Bangalore. It's becoming a massive electronics manufacturing hub. So these are all, and we are following these capabilities also. So we now have, our product is now ready to deal with an electric line. We are taking live data from, electric vehicle, the entire smart factory for an electric vehicle. So those are all newer capabilities, but this is the beauty of manufacturing, that when you produce results for your customer, they will take it and make it 10x, 20x for you. That's the beauty, and that's what we are enjoying working in this space.
Right. So I'm just trying to little bit differentiate from being from the corporate life to having your independent company. So how do you see the sense of change there?
So there are similarities, there are differences. In my corporate life, most of my customers were overseas customers. So we probably met them once or twice a year. Otherwise, maybe daily phone calls or weekly phone calls. It's a certain. It had its own charms. It had its own challenges. We were working in the B2C e-commerce space. That was also a very dynamic space. You won't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Unlike if you work in insurance or healthcare, the quantum of work can be predicted. Manufacturing takes us closer to the customer. We spend a lot of time in these factories. That's the difference. So very often when we start requirement gathering and assessment of the data streams, and when we roll out, the most enjoyable time is when the first apps roll out on the shop floor and the data starts coming in. I think nothing will replace that happiness.
Absolutely right. I understand. So it's so let me understand. It's more like you're able to be there closely associated with different customers. So that's
a lot closer to the ground where things are happening.
Absolutely right.
And you get first-hand understanding of the problem. When they say, I have a problem with cost of poor quality, you can go to the line and see rejects lying in a place. So you are able to connect the problem with what's actually happening on the floor.
True. I see that. So also, what do you think is the future for boutique firms like yours? The challenges that you face, and what advice would you give to people who are pursuing this?
So the last 1 year has been exciting times. There's a lot of good attention coming to startups. Yes, the investor VC scene in terms of startups is very exciting. But in addition to that, large corporates are now putting together consortiums of startups to transform their, especially in manufacturing. We are aware of structured efforts by large corporates to put together 10 or 15 startups as one consortium to go towards accelerated digital transformation. That is a significant change in the way procurement is happening. Because one of the challenges we have is from a traditional procurement perspective, we may not compete very well with the large services companies out there.
Right.
But when large conglomerates change the way, saying, hey, we know how to engage with the startup, or we are coming with a specialized channel to engage with the startup.
Right.
That is one. Two, the incentives that are coming from the government. You may have come across. So we are working with Forge Forward as our incubation partner. So Forge Forward is so it's based out of Kundugulu College in Coimbatore, and they do this for us in terms of introducing us to large corporates and at the same time interfacing us with the government. They put us through a stringent due diligence process, and we were awarded a government grant. So these are unheard of things. So we have an innovation grant. So when we are building predictive maintenance, the government is putting a process saying that we recognize your innovation, and they are giving us a grant to fund our innovation. And this is we've been promised that this would be the first cycle of innovation, and we've been given a small budget. If we show to them, if we demonstrate to them, they are going to give us a larger seed investment itself. So those are all I think what else can we ask for as a startup, right?
Right. I think true. So finally, I just have one last question, Venkat. So, what is the value proposition your company believe you can give to your target customers?
Right. See, the crux of digital transformation is dealing with information asymmetry or data asymmetry. Data is lying in one place, and you're trying to solve the problem in a different place. So there is always a gap between the source of the problem and the center of problem solving. So our core approach is to demolish this asymmetry in data. So that way, what we do is similar to digital transformation outside manufacturing, it's about dealing with the asymmetry in data. Right? The core principles are the same. How we go about doing that is the IT/OT convergence. Right? So we have edge adapters over the 3.5 years that have been in manufacturing. We have built about 40 different adapters to deal with different data sources in the shop floor.
Wonderful.
So this includes CMMs, right? Air electronic gauges, sensors, data loggers that work with furnaces, quenching machines, welding machines, electric vehicle lines. So an entire array of adapters is what we have built. What these adapters do is translate all of those languages, the OT language, what is happening inside the machine is not readily readable for a human being. And the machines can produce large amounts of data very fast.
Right.
Asking somebody to deal with this manually is not an efficient method. So the first thing we deliver is the translation of this data. So one is tapping into the edge. We have adapters for it. Two, to translate this data into a readable data, and perhaps not just as data, and deliver it to you as actionable insights, as KPIs, or giving you specific trends, catching specific trends and giving you highlights. We have excellent metadata capabilities.
Right.
Translation of data is the second aspect. Then, like I said, we use time-tested analytics to make it very easy for end users. So, building a complex analytical model today, as long as you have the right data, 3 to 6 months, anybody can get into deep tech and artificial intelligence. There is plenty of references available today. But we have to take the end user along. For that, we start using some time-tested statistical models, very easy on the end user. And having provided success at that level, we start moving our customer towards predictive models. This is what we do.
Wonderful.
And wherever digital sources are not available, we have apps. And in our 3.5 years experience, we have improved the configurable nature of our product. So, a lot of this doesn't need us to write fresh software. So we move from one customer to another. Our time to implement is reduced, and every every year we spend significant amounts. Our biggest budget is in product development.
Right.
So even as a startup, we have a no holds barred when it comes to product development. We continuously work on that. That's
Wonderful.
that's how we are able to acquire this many customers, and our footprint is very large. Each year we estimate that across locations we capture as much as 35 million data points.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So that's
Good.
strength of the product that and then the different
Wonderful.
customers who have worked with us have validated all of this for us. That is how we build this trends.
Excellent. Excellent, Venkat. Wonderful. So, so again, thanks, Venkat, for sharing about yourself, your thoughts in terms of how SMEs should basically prepare themselves for the digital transformation. How does the future of independent and boutique firms like yours they're looking forward, and also sharing your value proposition for your customers. So, thank you so much, Venkat.
Thank you,
Uh,
John.
yeah,
I'm
and
happy to be associated with nicheBrains, and it's a good opportunity for us to tell our story. As a startup, we sometimes get so involved in our business, we forget to tell the world about what we are
true,
doing.
wonderful. Yeah,
So
it
we
is true.
truly appreciate the opportunity to present what we are doing with nicheBrains.
Thank you so much, Venkat,
Thank
and
you.
thanks everybody once again. So we will see you on the other side with another expert in the next week. So thank you all, and bye.